The question is it possible to become fluent in English without ever living abroad? The answer is yes. I became fluent in English without living abroad. I actually learned it from home, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do the same thing yourself. Okay, I'm Omid and I'm an English learner and an English teacher, and I learned English in a country without being around people who speak English. So, in the journey that I started, I had so many challenges, but the biggest ones was that I never lived abroad, meaning I used to think that in order to learn English, I had to be among native speakers so that I can learn English, but I didn't get a chance to do that myself, to be honest. So that was one challenge. And another big challenge was that no one spoke English in my country. So, in the country that I live, English is a foreign language. It's not a second language. It's not being spoken every day in the environment. So it was pretty difficult for me to find anyone to practice my English or speaking with. So I had to find other ways to do the same thing that a lot of people can do just easily just by being around native speakers. So another challenge that I got was that no real life practice, meaning, as I said, no native speaker was around me, so I had to do some other stuff that could make it up for me. So I had two choices actually, and the first one was that to give up, because I used to think that, oh, I'm not around native speakers, it's so hard to learn English, I can't learn English in a country that people don't believe English is useful and they don't speak it, I can't find anyone to practice with. So that was one choice, and the other choice was find another way, and you can probably guess which choice I picked. Yeah, I found another way. And so I started, reading. I started reading a lot of stories in English, actually. The stories that, were suitable for my level of English, were good for me. I could understand about 50% of the story, or maybe more, so the story wasn't so hard that I couldn't understand any of it, and it wasn't so simple and easy to sound boring for me. I chose stories that were good for my level of English, a little bit challenging. And beside reading, I, listened to a lot of podcasts, great native speakers, and I, try to shadow them, do the shadowing technique, and I'm gonna teach you how to do the same technique in other videos. But, through reading and listening a lot, like several hours a day, I began to think in English like a magic, without forcing myself. It just happened, and I would get up from sleep, and my mind would just suggest thoughts in English, and I wouldn't force myself to do that. It just happened, and that was the start of the great success in speaking, because with reading and listening a lot, my mind got used to thinking in English and creating ideas in English so that I could speak now. I would just pick up my phone and tap on the record button and just record my voice and talk about my everyday life, like my daily routine, or the things that I would do in the future or the past, like stories about my yesterday or last week, so I could easily speak about my life. How that started? By reading and listening a lot. So in this channel, I'm gonna show you how to do some reading practices and listening practices in a great way so that you can become fluent in English without living abroad. So after that, I realized that you don't need to be abroad in an English-speaking country like UK, US, Australia, or something to become fluent in English. You just need the right system. And by that, I mean, knowing how to study or learn English. That's the important thing, not being around people. Actually, you can be around native speakers and not learn English because if you don't know how to use your environment, you cannot learn anything. So that was the reason why I created FFH Fluent from Home channel, because in this channel I'm gonna talk about my experiences, about 12 or 13 years of experience of learning English and becoming, you know, I could call myself fluent because, as you can see, I can share my ideas with you without any problem. Actually, I need to tell you the definition of fluent, and so that you can differentiate fluent from accurate. When you want to learn English or any language, there are two terms that you might face: fluency and accuracy. Fluency means that words just come out of your mouth without any problem. So you have a thought in your mind and you just communicate it. You just tell the other person what you think without being correct, without using correct grammar. It's not the case. But accurate means you can use, for example, perfect grammar, correct structures and things like that. But to be honest, in language learning, accuracy is not important. Using correct grammar is not important. Actually, it causes you problems and you cannot share your ideas in a good way, and your fluency will suffer from this because you might say, oh my god, which grammar structure should I use? I don't know. It was, you know, went or go or gone or something like that, and your mind just gets confused with different grammar structures. But when you get fluent, you don't care about grammar. All people make mistakes in grammar. Even native speakers make a lot of mistakes. So if you actually worry about accuracy, you cannot speak English. And in this channel, I'm going to show you how to put it aside and don't worry about it anymore, and be confident in your English so that you can speak in a fluent way as I'm doing it now. So on this channel, you'll learn vocabulary, guys. Vocabulary is so important, but not any vocabulary, not any word, just the words that are so common in English and people will use in daily life. I want to teach you those to learn to be fluent and speak English naturally. And beside that, I'm gonna just teach you phrasal verbs because they're so important, and native speakers don't just use single words. They add words to each other so that they can create phrases, and phrases make the daily life communications. So phrasal verbs are so important. I'm gonna just teach you how to use them in your daily life. And speaking tips like doing shadowing technique, using your phone, AI, especially AI, because nowadays you can do some great practices with AI. I'm going to talk about these things. Pronunciation tips. As you can see me, I can pronounce words clearly, and I'm not a native speaker, and I'm trying to pronounce in a way that people can understand me. You know what I'm saying? So grammar, I'm not gonna focus on grammar a lot, but I'm gonna just teach you the essential structures, like their patterns. You put the words in the patterns and just say them without, over emphasizing on them. And listening tips, like how to listen to movies, podcasts, songs, so that you'll learn English in a natural way. And learning strategies. Yes, this is the kind of stuff that I'm gonna talk about on this channel. And my promise is that if I could do it from home, so can you. If I could become fluent in English, in my house, in my room, so can you. Don't worry about, learning English in your environment. A lot of people have the same situation. They can't go to the US or Australia or Canada or an English speaking country. So we need to find a way to learn English in other ways. I understand you because I'm an English learner too, and I actually teach English at public schools, at different language institutes. So I'm perfectly familiar with the process of learning a language, and I know all the obstacles and challenges. That's why you need to trust me so that I can teach you how to learn English in a great way. So are you ready? Let's start this journey together. Subscribe and become fluent from home. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you until the next video. Bye.